Now, the brain has lots of different parts, so we're going to cover these. First of all, we have the medulla. Now, the medulla regulates cardiac and respiratory actions. Just like the autonomic nervous system that we talked about a while ago, that's the part of the brain that does that. It's right back here in the back part of your brain. Later on, we'll have a little diagram. We'll talk about where all these are located. The medulla is in the back of the brain, and it regulates cardiac and respiratory functions. Works all the time. It keeps on going. Then we have the pons. The pons is a part of the brain located kind of on the side of the brain, okay, on either side of the temple. It's responsible for sleep, dreaming, and left-right body. Let's put a Y on there. Left-right body coordination. So I'm like, okay, so am I right-handed? Am I left-handed? Well, what's the deal? Well, that's determined in my pons. Isn't that incredible? Am I ambidextrous? Well, it's determined in the pons. Wow. So the pons are responsible for sleep and dreaming. Oh, boy, wait till we get to the section on sleep. It's really fascinating. That wasn't fair to mention that and then not talk about it, but we're going to move on. Okay, so then we have the thalamus. The thalamus receives all the sensory information. Well, once again, that was the somatic nervous system, okay, receiving all the sensory information. The actual part of the brain is called the thalamus. Then we have the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex coordinates sensory and motor information. So it picks up all the senses, and then it has to move things around the body. So for example, okay, sensory, I mentioned my little grandson a while ago, coolest dude ever, okay, so all of a sudden he sees a light, okay, so right here, his cerebral cortex coordinates his sensory and motor. When he sees a light over there, boom, it causes his eyes to track the light, and there it is. Oh, you hear something fall, and you need to know if it's dangerous or not, boom, you look. You don't say to yourself, man, I think I'll look over there. Oh, cool. No, this right away, the cerebral cortex is for your protection. The senses are for your protection. Okay, if you taste something that tastes really bad, what do? You gag it. You're spitting it out. Okay, so once again, the cerebral cortex is our sense of protection in that you don't have to think about, if you get a sense, something comes in, whether it's a smell, a touch, taste, sight, whatever the sense is, you don't have to run it through your brain. Oh, is it safe? Whatever. Your motor, the motor interaction is going to happen right away. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Then you have the cerebellum. The cerebellum controls muscle movements. Oh, so the cerebellum says, okay, that I was telling you a while ago, the brain says to the arm, contract. Oh, contract these fingers. Oh, relax. Oh, how about this finger, that finger, whatever. Let's move our arm. It's all of these muscle movements. But this is another cool thing about the cerebellum. The cerebellum also controls memory habits. Oh, this is cool. Okay? So once again, cerebellum, since it controls muscle movements, it also controls memory habits. So how do you tie your shoe? Well, in kindergarten you get Velcro, okay? And then after Velcro, and you grow up to first grade, then you begin to go, oh golly, I got to think about this. A rabbit goes around the tree. I don't remember how that goes, you know. You keep going, till pretty soon you've tied your shoe so much that you don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to run it through your frontal lobe, your working memory. You don't have to run it through your hippocampus. We'll talk about those a little bit. You don't have to run it through your long-term memory. You run it through your what? Your cerebellum, and you do it automatic. Oh, so that's kind of cool. So now I tie my shoe. I don't have to think about it. I just do it by the muscle memory. I brush my teeth the same way. You know, when you're a little kid, it's like, I don't know, you know, maybe you sing a song 3 times. I don't know what you do. Okay, but now it's been so long we forgot. It's just muscle memory. All right, and it's kind of like, that's why we practice a lot of times. Like you know, I coached football and basketball, and in basketball it's like, okay, well, we're going to shoot these free throws. Do it the same way every time. Dribble 3 times, whatever you're going to do. Pick the ball up, boom. Because we're going to do it so many times that it's muscle memory. The problem is you get in a game and you try to think, and thinking kills you. You got to save your thinking for English. Okay. So what happens is, you're doing muscle memory, and right here about the time you shoot, instead of just shooting and using the way you exactly know how to move every finger in your body, you go, oh, I have to make this one. Oh, I've been shooting it too long all night. Oh, I got to go a little shorter. And you change your muscle memory, so you go to the thinking memory, and all of a sudden you miss a free throw. Boom. Okay? It would be kind of like all of a sudden you're tying your shoe, and I say to you, oh, wait a minute, change that. Change that, and you're like, whoa, wait, what change what? I just tied my shoe. So it's incredible that we realize, we'll talk about this a little bit later, muscle movements, but memory habits. You know, what do we do? Memory happens. What causes us to do what we do? We're going to talk about classical conditioning. Okay, you know, I was talking about drugs a while ago. Smoking. Some people, if they're stressed, they smoke. That's a memory habit. It's like if this happens, then that happens. Oh, well, we got to be careful then what our memory habits are, and then we're going to learn later how we break those memory habits. Fascinating lecture, right? Actually, we get to classical conditioning. I once again got to quit mentioning it. That's later down the road. Okay, basal ganglia. This is what processes your emotions. So the basal ganglia part of your brain does all of your emotions. Hippocampus. And remember, a hippo is a big animal. Okay, long-term memory. Long hippo, long-term memory. All right. So long-term memories. You know, things that I remember more than a month, more than a year. Long-term memories are in the hippocampus. We actually have a part of the brain that files those away. Then we have the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus links the nervous system to the endocrine system. And what that means, the endocrine system, is where we're going to release all of the neurotransmitters, all the chemicals in the body, as well as all the hormones in the body to link us up to the nervous system. So the nervous system is linked to the endocrine system through the hypothalamus. Then we have the frontal lobes, which are really right in front of your brain. That's your working memory. The frontal lobe is amazing because as you go throughout the day, you're processing all this stuff, okay? But when we talk about sleep, it's going to be really interesting. When you sleep, you're going to sort out all your working memories, and you're going to decide how many of those are going to go over here to your hippocampus and become long-term memories. Oh, it's fascinating, all right? So why is it that some classes, you make an A on the test and you seem to know it pretty good, and then there's other classes where you make an A on the test, but you remember it the rest of your life? Well, it depends. Did you put it in your working memory? Okay, it's kind of like on a computer. Did I type it in? Okay, and I see it. It's right there. Okay, that's like my frontal lobe, my working memory. Or did I save it and put it on my hard drive? That's the hippocampus. So we've got all this working memory, but it doesn't always stay in there because what we don't send to the hippocampus, we lose. Then we have the Baroque's area that's right behind the frontal lobe. And this controls speech. Now this is amazing because in this frontal lobe it allows us to be able to go into the hippocampus and find something that we can relate to. You know, how do we learn English? A, apple, B, boy, but. What are we doing? It's because we have to go to the long-term memory. We have to find something that we can relate to. And then once we go to that, then we have to have a correlation thing in the Baroque's. And then the Baroque's automatically tells us how to move our tongue. Isn't that amazing? So, A, apple, The Baroque's took care of that. I didn't have to think, okay, what does A stand for? Apple. No, because I didn't go through the working memory of my brain. It went through the long term. It just skipped the working memory. I didn't have to think about it. It went straight to A as apple. And then right away, when I was in whatever, 3 years old, 4 years old, whenever my parents or somebody was saying a word and I was trying to imitate them, okay, pretty soon, and maybe in kindergarten you learn apples, and you learn where to put, I don't even know where you put your tongue now, okay, so because now I don't have to think about it, okay, but my Baroque's automatically does it. So I can just start saying whatever I want, and it's kind of fun. We'll talk about this a little bit later too, because we're just kind of building some things up. But what happens is I can just turn loose my Baroque's region, and I can just go to my hippocampus, and I can say, because big dogs are red dogs are red, and white dogs are white, and some dogs got bit by it, I don't know, and I can just go on, and every time I release my Baroque's, then it will say whatever I have tied into my hippocampus. Now, we have some people that use their Baroque's way too much, and they talk all the time. And they don't even think. You ever heard that? They don't think before they speak? That's the Baroque's. The Baroque's doesn't think about what it's saying. It just does associations. So somebody that stops before they think runs it through their frontal lobe, and they think about it. They use the reasoning, and then they say, well, okay, yeah, that was kind of a bulldog, bright, kind of a, well, let's see, what was it? Well, I had reddish fur. See, so that's going through the thinking. So the Baroque's is located behind the frontal lobe. The amazing thing is, when you're born, the Baroque's is so small that it doesn't even develop. You don't even have speech when you're born. You have to develop the Baroque's region. And we're fixing to talk about, this is a fascinating deal. We're going to talk about all the stages of development of the brain, and we're going to learn that the first part, when you're first born, Your brain doesn't, the Broca's area is not developed at all. My daughter, I was talking about my grandson the other day. My daughter's doing a neat deal. She's trying to teach sign language. Okay, and she's heard this from some other people, so it's not a new thing. But they teach sign language, like for example, this is done. This is done. And I don't know a lot of other sign language, okay? All right, but the thing about it is that a baby can do sign language way before a baby can speak because of the Broca's area. Well, that's a lot of fun stuff. We covered a lot of stuff, and now we're ready for test number 2. So once again, it's not just about the grades you have for the test. It's about learning all this information, but we kind of got the brain, and as we get into the next test, and we begin to tie a lot of what the brain does. So good luck on test number 2, and I'll see you for the next video.